Well, today we're going over how to use AI for contract review. As always, as we kind of already kicked off, the chat is open, so is the Q&A. We really like to make these things as interactive as possible to be beneficial for you and to be beneficial for others here that are on the call. So don't hesitate to go in there and ask your questions. My name is Blake Youngdahl. I'm a senior customer success manager with Concord. And then we have Quincy, who's one of our account executives. So you're probably talking to one of us if you're on the call, either at some point, whether if you're a new customer or a potential customer, or if you're a current customer. But we have our emails there. You might also work with Zach, so his email is there. But there's 2 points that I want to make right before we get started is if you need anything, reach out to us. The second point, don't worry about who you're reaching out to. We'll make sure you get to the right person. So we want to hear from you. We want to help you answer your questions and provide support. So do not hesitate. And then our emails are also there in the chat if you don't want to write them down here.
I would say as well, Blake, even if you're looking for advice within contract management, I myself have been selling contract management software and e-signature software for about 8 years now. And Zach is one of the first employees at Concord. He's been selling the system for 9 years now. So we've worked with a lot of projects, thousands of projects at this point. If you're looking for advice even, on general contract management, feel free to reach out. We're always happy to have a chat.
I think it's a very good point. All righty. Well, Quincy, do you want to take this, or do you want me to kick it off?
Go ahead, kick it off, and then I'll run the demo.
All right, sweet. So, well, I guess we're ready. I guess so. Basically, like we're talking about right, using AI for contract review, and so we have 2 existing tools that y'all may be aware of. If not, you should be, because they're doing a lot of things. They're saving people significant amount of time, right, with the storage aspect. But especially, I think the Copilot really touches in on this, how to use, or this using AI for contract review, right? It's a more proactive approach to sort of managing your contracts, because you're able to look in and ask it questions, right? You're able to do a lot of quick finding and quick analysis that could be time consuming for you to do yourself. And so, right, we're trying to provide additional tools to kind of put you at different places in your sort of workflow. And so I think what we'll do is we'll present both of those today, and then and then jump in. So Quincy, I am ready for you when you are. So I will stop sharing my screen and let you take it.
All right, let me share this out here. So just to give context, some of the attendees here have already seen, what I have on the screen here. We have a document that has already been signed inside of Concord. And the first piece that Blake mentioned that kind of starts the process in terms of how AI is used in Concord is we have AI that extracts out key details from contracts when they're brought into the system. So party details, descriptions, life cycle details, notice periods as well, and then the total agreement value. But oftentimes I work with customers that want additional data pulled out of their contracts. And so what we have here is what we call the Copilot. This is where you can ask any sort of questions about the contract to the Copilot, and then it'll provide a response. So I have a few specific data points here that I like to look at if I, have a signed contract that comes across my desk. These are the key kind of points I'm looking for. So I feed in this prompt to the AI, and then it'll provide a response, which, this by itself is nice, but when you get data like this, obviously you want to be able to put this data to work to some degree. So oftentimes what Blake and I do as we're onboarding a new customer to Concord is we show them where to set up specific what we call properties to track these data points in case I want to run reports on them, or maybe I want a specific data point to throw a date into my deadline calendar so I can be automatically notified of some other date in the contract. So as a part of this sort of process, if you're already using Concord today, I recommend looking at this properties section. If you haven't used properties, you're not going to see anything in this account yet. I have a bunch of demonstration data here, but you'll notice that, based upon that prompt I fed into the contract, I have a limitation of liability property there, and then I also have a remedies for breach property. So, using that last example, if I want to be able to track this data immediately when I open up the contract, or maybe I want to run a report on all the remedies for breach language across all my contracts, you'll want to copy the text here and then bring it in to this section here. So we're going to add a property. We'll type in remedies for breach, and then we'll paste that value into the system. Now, every time I go back to this contract, I can immediately just open up this section to see that remedy for breach language. So that's the first example. Hey, maybe you don't have like a fully baked out approval process where you still sometimes have signed contracts that hit your desk that you were not aware of previously. That's one way to use the Copilot here. Certainly, the other way to use the Copilot is where you're actually into reviewing a contract before it's signed. And I'm going to move into that next. I'm just going to switch accounts here. While I do this, Blake, anything you want to add on kind of what I just showed the attendees here?
No, I like where you're going. And I'll have a cool example that a customer shared kind of after you show your next piece. But what I think is you bring up a good point. It's like there's a lot of things that you need to just find, right? If you're familiar with Concord and the different ways that you can just find documents, whether it be through the search or the filtering, there's so many different ways that you can find it. And now we have these additional ways to find information from within your contracts, which I think is really even more valuable. And it's not just like a control F. I think that's where it really is kind of like, let your play with it out if you have it, because I think you'll quickly, I guess, understand the power of it and the ability just to find some really interesting things in your contracts.
Right, and we'll mention a couple things about the roadmap in the webinar here today. But if you think about where Concord is moving strategically from a product perspective, we have the AI that you prompt it, it generates results today. So there's still a manual component to that process. Where we're moving into in the future is what we call custom AI properties, where we can train the AI to extract these other key details automatically out of the contract. So we're excited about this feature. I mean, we were definitely excited once Copilot rolled out. It's nice to be able to look through, a 50 to 100 page contract and find just a couple nice, data points that you're looking for. But that's kind of where Concord is continuing to move next. At least part of where we're moving next. Blake, did you want to bring up that example you mentioned
Sure.
now, or did you want me to cover? Okay.
Why don't you cover yours? It's just kind of sort of an anecdote more than anything. So you go
Sure.
ahead.
Yeah, in this case, we have a document in review here. I'm functioning as John Smith here. So you'll see I've made a bunch of suggested edits to this contract already. But a simple example for a contract that's, yet to be signed is, I'm going to feed a couple prompts in and show you what I mean here. Show me where it's located. So we'll grab this result here. Okay, section 11, suggest alternative language to section 11. I want Delaware. So once again, this is a very simple example. If you think about jurisdiction language, it's fairly boilerplate across most contracts. But in which case, based upon this alternative language, now what I can do here is just grab this value. We'll go down to section 11 here. And it said just replace that last sentence. So I'm going to add this in as a suggested edit, and then we'll paste. And now I have that value inside of the agreement. In this case, I'll want to reformat it. It looks like it took on the font size of the other document, or the response. But hopefully everyone understands the point here. You can have the AI, find details, but also suggest alternative language to different sections of your contract. And then from here, this is a separate discussion outside of this webinar, but I can download this document to Word, or I can then share this document out through Concord and let the external party review my markups, add additional markups. If there's any questions about actually executing the back and forth review workflow, let Blake or I know.
Yeah, definitely let us know. And I think that, the goal of this is to provide you really with a tool to make your lives easier. I think that's it, right? It's not replacing lawyers, right? Because I think, but really what we're trying to do is enable non-lawyers like me. Like I can generate a contract, I can find that language, and I can do these sort of things. And so really what our goal is to, if you are, if you're general counsel for a company or something along those lines, to free your time up. So really, you just have to kind of go in and do the review process while enabling people like me to sort of do some of those tough changes and things like that. And that example I had was, we had a new customer who was talking about the Copilot, and he was basically, he was talking about how impressed he was with the results, with the questions, with the interpretation of his specific questions in the language that he was using. But then he told me that he handed it off to his son next and said, "Hey, try this out. Like ask things in your language, in the way that you ask things, right?" And it gave answers that were able to be understood and everything, right? So trying to paint the picture that like you know you don't need to be a lawyer to use it and to understand it. And our goal, right, is to help unlock time for you guys and to save you time and energy. So we're seeing it
Exactly.
work for customers, so it's pretty exciting.
Or even like our own internal use of the AI. I received an NDA from a prospective customer a couple days ago, and you know how most companies are and people are nowadays. Everyone's in meetings all day, or legal team is reviewing like more advanced contracts. Maybe we're like doing a negotiation on a contract for them to purchase Concord. So I looked at this AI. I've asked the Copilot, identify any risky or unclear
Mm.
language, and there wasn't any of that language in there. So now, did I just go ahead and accept that NDA and sign it on behalf of the company? Absolutely not. But I was able to take it to our legal colleague and say, hey, I had the AI do a first pass review, not seeing anything outside of the norm here. And she replied back saying, hey, yep, this is good to sign. And so it just, once again, it's an acceleration of the process on simple terms, especially, which hopefully allows legal colleagues and even procurement and contract managers to just focus on tougher negotiations, or whatever, more strategic work.
Yep, I think that's a great way to say it. And we have yet to have anybody go into the chat or the Q&A, which sometimes can be good signs, sometimes bad. So I want to encourage you, again, come on in and ask us some questions if you want to know about capabilities or anything. Okay, actually, there we go. Thanks for the feedback. So is there a way to do document format to match the exact features in Microsoft Word, for example, margins and indent? It's a great question. It's where we're going. It's where we absolutely want it to go, right? We want to take away the things that just take up time, because we want to make sure you're doing the valuable work that I'm sure you've trained for and learned and everything. So currently, it's not impacting the actual document itself. Like as Quincy was doing, he was copying the paragraph and putting it into the document. So it will eventually be able to do that, but not currently. So that's a great question.
And even when I copied that in, I did just Control V. I should have done whatever the command is, Command Shift
Shift.
V on my
Yep.
Mac,
Hmm.
just so it takes on the underlying formatting. So yeah, it's a little bit of a trick of the trade, Varun, but like Blake mentioned, that's where we're heading to next.
Hmm. Yep. Great question. Thank you for asking it. Is there a way
Con-
to compare two documents on with Copilot? I guess Quincy, do you want to? I don't know if you have more to talk about, but that could be a good segue.
No, we can just dive right into Amy's question. Amy, not currently. I mean, in the Concord system as it stands today, the compare function that you have is just comparing one version of a contract to another, which is this section. Obviously, that's not the answer to your question, but that's the compare function in the system today. This is the Concord roadmap. We just made this customer facing. It's a part of our website now. I'll put it in the chat just so everyone has it that doesn't have it already. Um, what we're doing, Amy, is building in that functionality into sort of what we call this Concord MCP section here. So eventually you're going to be able to say, hey, compare this contract with like our standard NDA contract or whatever you want to do. Compare two contracts side by side and show the differences between them. So it's coming, Amy, just not available in the system at the very moment. And I
Right.
hope Blake, did you see my arms earlier? I am absolutely covered with poison ivy right now. So
Oh no.
not having fun. I do not have my calamine lotion either. So I got to keep my arms down for this one. Yeah, they're not, they've looked better in the past.
Hey, I couldn't tell. Obviously, the outcome is not great, but that could be a good sign that you had a good time on your PTO that you had yesterday. So,
Yeah, I
uh,
either had a good time or I'm just chasing my little pug and my 2-year-old son around nonstop. That's mostly fun as well. But
yeah. Um, on this screen, you basically already covered it, but I do want to say like exciting times are coming for Concord, not only just with like the stuff that you're seeing on the screen, but the fact that we have it at all. Um, we're wanting to be transparent. We're seeing sort of we're, a lack of, I think, transparency, I think, in the market, and we want to be that, right? We want you to know what we're doing, so we're also, creating some change logs and things like that. So anyway, so not only is the stuff that we're building exciting, but also the direction and the way that we communicate this, I think, is exciting as well. To be like, guys, this is where we're going. And this is what we've done as well just recently with those things. So anyway, so go ahead and check that out. Quincy put this roadmap in the chat for you guys to see and explore.
yeah, and then one other thing to highlight it while we just wait to see if any other chats come in is I showed the Copilot today. The Copilot is available at what we call the document level. You have to go to a document to access this functionality where you can prompt and get results from the AI. Where we're moving to next, and that was on the roadmap before I switch my screen here. Is the Copilot at the system levels. You can run contract analysis at the system level based upon whatever prompt you put in here. So show me all the contracts that I've signed with vendors that end this year that are between $50 to $100,000.
Yep.
Could be an example prompt you put into the Copilot here. And then Concord's AI will read through all the documents and it'll build a report, against the parameters that you just gave it. So I
Yeah,
am,
this will
me personally, very excited about this one. I'm not seeing this sort of system-wide analysis available in a lot of companies that we compete with, or even like homegrown AI tools that I see prospects using.
right. No, I would echo that as my personal excitement, feeling that also from the customers as well. I think everybody is really excited for it. So you can kind of keep track on that roadmap, but I'm right there with you, Quincy. This is going to be a game changer. Okay. Again, guys, we're sort of wrapping up here. We want to really just keep these going to sort of build the community. So part of that is having them regularly. We will, of course, always have repeat topics and cover different things. We're going to keep them fresh, but a lot of, I think, what really builds this and keeps it valuable is that community aspect, is that chat aspect. So we want to, encourage you to keep coming back, but also right now, go to the chat, ask us questions. They don't have to cover AI, they don't have to cover Copilot. Of course, we're here to talk about it, but that's, when these things turn into different topics, they can be really valuable for everybody. So in the next couple
And then
minutes
I'm
or
just
yeah.
throwing in a quick update. This is not related to anything we've spoken about, but it is a big update for Concord. Concord is now SOC 1, 2, and 3 compliant. We used to just be SOC 2, but what I'm finding, at least based upon my research, is especially financial institutions need these additional layers of compliance. So I was really happy to see this. We just made this announcement internally last week, and we're going to be doing some kind of general marketing around it. I'm really happy to see the product team kind of making that additional investment towards the application security. Um, Michael has a question. Is there a tutorial on Copilot?
We don't currently have, we're working on our documentation for all of our AI tools, so we don't have one. So what I will say is this, if you would like to just have a personal tutorial, I can send you the recording if you'd like to meet, sign up for time to meet with me. I'll just put my calendar link there. Not just Michael, but everyone. I work with our current customers. So you want a personal tutorial, set up some
Yeah, and
time.
it's tough, Michael. I mean, contracts, they're so nuanced, between, whatever businesses are, entering into a contract. Like I have one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world right now that is using the Copilot to extract these different milestones as drugs go through clinical trials. That's so specific for their situation. So to Blake's point, if you're open to it, I think a one-on-one session makes a lot of sense, so we can kind of just develop out a game plan for you specifically and how you can use the Copilot.
Yep.
Well, Blake, I think that's all I have for my side. Certainly we can keep the floor open here.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, that's all I have as well. We don't have any more questions, so I would say let's wrap it up. Maybe what we'll do here, I'll put up our emails one more time, and we'll even put them in the chat as well one last time here. Where are we at? So anyway, just to make sure you're aware, again, if reach out to any of us, we'll make sure you get to the right place. That's not on you, but typically I'm your senior customer success manager, so I work with current customers. Quincy is account executive working with new users and everything. So come on, reach out to us. We're excited to chat with you and answer your questions. All right, yeah. Well, hope you guys have a great. Yeah, go ahead.
Heather has a question.
Oh,
Um, Under
yeah.
document summary essentials, will there be options to add our own agreement category and document type? I'm actually not sure of that. I know all of the categories we have today, but do you know, Blake?
It's a great question. It's so essentially what I'm understanding the question is so to kind of give a visual for everybody, right? If we open up this summary panel where we store all of our important metadata, we have a lot of standard terms that are going to be on every document and the AI is going to read for you. But this drop down here is a standard is a set drop down list. And so it sounds like the request is to be able to edit this. It's a common request. And so I'm going to add you to the feature request to make sure our product team is aware of it. Currently, it's not available. I can't speak as to whether or not it will become available, but one thing I think that is worth considering is creating a custom property for this. That's what a lot of customers do. If they're ready to kind of get that data on their contract, start using it in your inbox and in filters and all sorts of things, you can create a custom property for those sorts of things. So, for like really, really, really custom stuff, like very company specific document type and agreement category, I would say consider a property down here. If you don't know what properties are, that's a whole meeting that we should have because I would love to tell you about it. But yeah, I hope I answered your question right. Let me know if not. Don't hesitate to tell me you did not answer my question.
Yeah, and just like you're doing with the drop-down menu here, you can do a drop-down for that custom property. So the look is the same. You're just
Yep.
going a little bit further down into the document summary to add in your own custom agreement categories and document types.
Yeah, you nailed it right. If you're like, man, this drop down functionality, like Quincy's just saying, is cool, you can literally create your own drop downs. If you're like, man, lawn text field is cool. You can create your own and have them appear on documents. We have currency fields and date fields. So there's some cool stuff that you can do there. So you can build it yourself, and we can help you. Thanks for coming into the chat. Thanks for asking. Yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, I'm gonna hop off. Thanks for your time. You obviously know where to find us. Thanks for posting the emails in the chat, Blake. Really appreciate the engagement as well, everyone. Hope you have a good day.
Likewise, guys. Take care.